And then I heard the 5 words that changed my life forever. Have you heard of Nirvana? On a phone call with an old friend who'd grown up with the guys from Nirvana in the tiny town of Aberdeen, Washington, I was informed that they were in between drummers at the time and had seen Scream perform just weeks before on our ill-fated tour. Apparently, they were impressed with my playing, and I was given their phone numbers to call. Of course, I had heard Nirvana. Their debut album, Bleach, was a landmark record in the underground music scene, blending metal, punk, and Beatles-esque melody into an 11-song masterpiece that would go on to change the landscape of alternative music, while coincidentally costing $606 to make. It had quickly become one of my favorites and stood apart from all of the other noisy, heavy punk records in my collection because it had songs. And that voice. No one had a voice like that. After a few more days of frustration and starvation, I decided to roll the dice and call the bass player of Nirvana, Chris, to inquire about the drummer gig. Having never met him, I introduced myself and explained that our mutual friend had given me his number, so we chatted a while until Chris regretfully informed me that the position of drummer was already taken by their good friend, Dan Peters from Mudhoney. It had been worth the shot, I thought, but it wasn't the end of the world. I left my Los Angeles number with Chris and told him to keep in touch. Give me a shout if they ever happen to come down to L.A., since it was beginning to look like the City of Angels was unfortunately now my permanent residence. That same night, the house phone rang. It was Chris calling back. Seems he had given the matter more thought. Maybe you should talk to Kurt, he said. Danny Peters, although an amazing drummer in his own right, had a very different style than mine, playing with a more 60s rudimental feel as opposed to my simplistic Neanderthal disco dynamic, which seemed a bit more up Nirvana's alley. Plus, Chris and Kurt felt a bit guilty taking Danny from Mudhoney, one of their favorite bands of all time. So I immediately called Kurt and we talked music for a while. From NWA to Neil Young, Black Flag to the Beatles, the Cramps to Creedence Clearwater Revival, we found that we had a lot in common musically and that an audition might be worth pursuing. Well, if you can make it up here, just let us know, he nonchalantly said in a drawl the world now knows. We said goodbye, and I was now faced with one of my life's most difficult decisions. From the day I joined Scream, I'd felt part of a family. Though I was much younger than Pete, Franz, and Skeeter, they always treated me as an equal, and we became fast friends, spending almost every day together, tour or no tour. I'd spent the most important, formative years of my life with them, discovering music, discovering the world, and in turn, discovering myself. So, to move on and leave them behind in that sinking ship pained my heart in a way I had never felt. Even more than saying goodbye to my own father when he disowned me for dropping out of high school. We had always been in this together, all for one and one for all, and we had overcome so much shit. But there was a finality to this new crisis that made me question my future. So, as I did whenever I questioned my future, whenever I needed a voice of reason or some words of wisdom, I called the one person who had never once in my life steered me wrong. My mother. On a collect call from the parking lot of a record store in Orange County, I tearfully explained my dilemma. And she understood entirely. Because deep down, she felt the same about Pete and Franz as I did. We had all become a family over the years, and she considered them to be much more than my bandmates. They were my brothers. To this day, I will never forget the sound of her voice giving me the advice that steered my life in its ultimate direction. David, I know that you love your friends, but sometimes you have to put your needs ahead of others. You have to take care of yourself. Coming from a woman whose entire life was the exact opposite of that, this completely shocked me. But because she was the wisest person I knew, I hung up the phone and decided to follow her guidance, regardless of the consequences. I packed up my duffel bag, my sleeping bag, and my drum set into a cardboard moving box and headed up to Seattle, a town I'd only visited once and where I knew virtually no one, leaving one life behind to start another one. I felt a loss that I had never experienced before. I missed my home. I missed my friends. I missed my family. I was now truly on my own, back to square one, starting over. But I was still hungry. And having never been one to let my wheels spin, I had to keep going. After all, I was also still free, and there was adventure around every corner.